In the next 2 years, more than half of the country's mortgages are coming up for renewal. And most people think that this is just simply a matter of signing on the dotted line in order to get whatever the best deal that your existing lender is offering you. And that could not be further from the truth. Because when it comes to renewing your mortgage, it's never been more important to make sure that you get the right mortgage upon renewal. And this could mean everything from having a really tough negotiation with your existing lender to leaving your lender completely. But the one big mistake that people are going to make is signing on the dotted line without talking to somebody else first. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the 5 biggest mistakes you could make when renewing your mortgage. Because in 20 years of doing mortgages, yes, I started when I was like 5 years old. And if you've watched my other videos, you've already seen this joke and you know that I'm a lot older than 25. But in that 20 years of doing mortgages, we've seen the same mistakes made over and over and over again. And that is why this channel exists and why this video exists, is to help save you from making those same mistakes. Oh, and before I get into those mistakes, my name is Nolan Mathias, and if you want the latest Canadian real estate and mortgage news, this is the place for you. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button so more people like you can see this video. Oh, and by the way, every single month I give away the money that I make from this YouTube channel to a different charity. So if you've got a charity that you love, put the name in the comment section below and hopefully we'll pick them as the charity that we support next month. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the 5 major mistakes that people make when renewing their mortgage. So the first major mistake we see people make is assuming that the mortgage they had 5 years ago is going to be the mortgage that they need for the next 5 years. Because people's circumstances change. And over a 5-year period, it is very, very likely that all of the things that you thought you needed in a mortgage back 5 years ago when you got the mortgage aren't going to be true going forward. So just signing on the dotted line and renewing the existing mortgage that you have is a massive mistake. You want to make sure that the mortgage that you get for the next 5 years is going to be one that meets your needs. Now, it may very well be that you sign with your existing lender and everything is a-okay because the mortgage that you have right now is the mortgage that you need in the future. But in our experience, 75 to 80% of people, when they renew their mortgage, actually need something different than what they got previously. And there are a lot of reasons for that. It could be that they need to pay off debt, or they want to do a renovation, or they're going to have some other need in the future that makes the mortgage that they have not the right one for them. And that leads us to the next major mistake that people make when renewing their mortgage, and that is not thinking about the future. Because when you sign that renewal for the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, you need to be thinking about what the next 3 to 5 years will look like. And if there's a possibility that you may want to move to a different home, or that you may get transferred to a different city, or that you might want to do renovations, or maybe the mortgage that you have is just really, really tight. And if interest rates go up, it could make things difficult. Well, you want to be thinking about those things when it comes time to select your next mortgage, because you want to be eliminating your pay penalty risk if you're choosing a 5-year fixed mortgage, for example. Or you want to be making sure that you aren't choosing a variable rate mortgage with a fixed payment, because that could cause a negative amortization scenario. So going through a process with a good broker and understanding what your needs could be in the next 5 years is one of the most important things that you can do. And by the way, if you don't have a good broker or you want a great broker, my team at Mortgage 360 can help. I have one of the best all-salaried teams in the country made up entirely of women. Why women? Because, well, they give a damn about what your future looks like. And they're super reliable, super awesome, and they always put the client first. And because they're salaried, obviously, they don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to get paid on your deal, which means they can give you the best advice, even if it means that you might go somewhere else. And there are a lot of times where somebody is coming up for renewal, and my team looks at the deal and goes, you know what? You're right where you should be. So go ahead, sign on that dotted line, but let's give you a little bit of information so we can negotiate a lower rate and save you a little bit more money, which is totally cool by us, because even if we're not doing the mortgage and not getting paid on it, the goodwill that comes from that ends up paying off in the long run. In fact, every year we get a significant amount of referrals from clients that we never actually did a mortgage for because we pushed them in the right direction, not the direction that padded our pockets. Now, the third major mistake we see people making when they go to renew their mortgage is using forecasts to make their decisions. They look at the news, they look at what economists are saying, they look at what is happening in the economy, and they try to get a sense of what the future is going to look like from an economic perspective. And I can tell you right now that forecasts are never right. Forecasts are designed to help businesses, for example, make decisions around what their worst case scenario could be. Now, that doesn't mean that they use that information to make their decisions for them and make massive bets that could cost them tons of money. But what it does do is it allows them to think out into the future and go, well, if I make this decision, what's my worst case scenario and how do I prepare for that just in case? So instead of using forecasts and what you think is going to happen with interest rates, which if you didn't learn any lessons from 2021 and 2022, well, what we think is going to happen with interest rates isn't what always happens, and quite often it isn't. Instead, use the information that you have at hand. In other words, if you're choosing between a fixed and a variable rate mortgage, and I'll link to a video on exactly how to do that at the end of this one, you want to use the information that you have at the time you choose the mortgage in order to make that decision. And if a variable rate mortgage is priced significantly cheaper than a fixed rate mortgage, well, that's probably the right choice. And if a fixed rate mortgage is priced significantly lower than a variable rate mortgage, well, that's probably the right choice. But you should be using the information that you have today, the information that is a certainty, in order to make your mortgage decisions. And then use the forecast to figure out what your worst case scenario might be, and then prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Because let's be honest here, most people aren't going to go to a fortune teller in order to figure out what they should do financially or in any other way, shape, or form. You have to keep in mind that those fortune tellers are often for entertainment purposes only. And in the same way, a lot of times economists are about as valuable as a fortune teller. So don't let psychics make your mortgage decisions for you. Make the mortgage decisions based on the information that you have. Now, the next major mistake I see people making is not shopping around. And I need to be clear here. I don't mean shopping around for the best rate. I mean shopping around for the best person to help you with your mortgage decision. So many people open up the mortgage conversation with mortgage brokers and banks with, can you just give me what your best rate is? They don't ask about the features. They don't ask about what comes along with those mortgages and what they're giving up to get the lowest interest rate. So instead of asking about rates and shopping around for rates, what you should be doing is shopping around for somebody who can help you and somebody who you can trust. And finding that intersection of expertise and integrity is going to be the thing that saves you from making bad decisions. And keep in mind the person that you're talking to on the other end of the phone from your existing lender. They work for that lender. Their job is to get you to take the mortgage and sign on the dotted line. And quite often that means that they're compensated based on how many people they get to renew, which means they have their interests at heart, not yours. And to take it one step further, at the B lenders, the banks, they have an obligation to the shareholders to get as much money out of you as possible. And that leads us to the last mistake we see people making when it comes time to renew their mortgage, and that is trusting their existing lender. Now, this isn't to say that your existing lender isn't trustworthy, but it is to say that everybody who works for a bank who's trying to get you to renew your mortgage is, in fact, a salesperson. And quite often, they have some of the best sales training on the planet. So you need to discern whether or not they are working for you, working for your best interests, and whether or not they really are going to give you the best deal they possibly can. And I can tell you right now that that is rare. So in this day and age, it makes so much sense to go find a mortgage broker who is legally obligated, by the way, in most provinces to work for you. They have a fiduciary obligation, which means they have to do what is in your best interest. And therefore, you're more likely when dealing with a mortgage broker to get the information you need in order to make the best decision. And if you want to know more about choosing the right mortgage broker and choosing the right mortgages, well, you can get my book, Mortgage Secrets, for free at mortgagesecrets.ca. All you have to do is pay the shipping and handling, and we'll get a copy sent out right away. And I guarantee you, if you read that book, you will be more informed than, well, a lot of bankers out there on the mortgage industry in Canada. Oh, and if you want to know more about choosing the right mortgage, especially choosing between a fixed and a variable rate, make sure you check out this video right here.